grow from each other and to support each other through this beautiful journey that sobriety has given us, and to discover the gift within it. So let me dive right in, because I can get quite carried away, and yeah, but my heart is just so warm when I see you all here this morning. Oh, and Catherine, hi. Hi, good to see you here. So let me dive right into the first question, which is about the theme of loss that can emerge in early sobriety. Many of us in the world without wine are in midlife and older, and with new life a recognition of what could have been. Oh, this theme of loss that emerges, it's very real. It's grief. It's grief for what could have been. And I really love the work of Byron Katie around this. And Byron Katie talks about whenever we look to our past with regret, and we wish it wasn't so, and we wish we were different, and we wish we had made different choices, we are only but going to lose 100%. Because when we ask and we talk about and we think about, if only if I'd done this, if only I'd done that, if only I didn't drink, then my life would have been better. No, it wouldn't have, because it happened exactly how it was supposed to happen. And when I first read Byron Katie's book, it was kind of, whoa. It was quite a shift to really make peace with whatever has gone before happened exactly how it was supposed to happen. And what we have is now the present moment and our future. And how do we focus on that? And she also talks about how important it is to really get into our thinking and our feeling, and how that creates our actions and our results. So I'm quite big on getting really in touch with our thoughts around this. Brene Brown says that healing requires us to live courageously and allow ourselves to fully experience the feelings of loss and grief. And it's really a slow journey. It's, often we wish we could just take a pill and swallow it all away and we are just happy. But this is not life. So if we allow ourselves to really to grieve a loss, a trauma in our lives, all I can say is that the joy that we can then experience will be on the same level. So when we deny ourselves the feelings of grief and loss and shame and guilt and regret, all of those feelings, we also deny ourselves the feelings of joy and bliss and happiness and contentment and peace. So we have anger, we have peace, we have joy, we have sadness. It's all part of our condition, and it's really about feeling all of that. When Brene Brown really started her work around addictions and letting go of her addictions, I love what she said about feeling like a tortoise in a briar patch, and except that this tortoise had no shell, and she could feel every prick, every thorn, and it was just so painful, and she was just like, get me out of here. And what she realized was what she needed to make peace with was the briar patch. So what is the briar patch? It's what is it that we are really, really grappling with? What is it that we are really grieving? Is it the loss of a job? Is it the loss of a marriage? Those are, is it the loss of a loved one? That is where we really turn to real deep grief, and we grieve it. But we also have the other grief, like, oh, my loss of, now I can't drink to numb my feelings anymore. Now where do I go to? The loss of the little things that are not really what we would say are not really that. They're more the gray areas of grief, but they're also there, and we also need to recognize all of them. But the most important part of this question around the theme of loss is to journal it, to get in touch with it, to reach deep within. And I've just recently done this incredible resilient workshop with Gabby Lowe and Pippa Schaefer, who really talk about resilience and how do we become resilient. Because on this journey of sobriety, if we don't become resilient, we are going to be blown over by the first tornado that comes. And they use this beautiful example of the palm tree. The palm tree is all thin and spindly, but in a hurricane, it's more resilient than the oak tree. And you would think the oak tree is like solid, it stands strong, but it gets uprooted so easily. And why? Because the palm tree can bend. So we need to look at our flexibility, our adaptability in any situation, our resilience. We need to reach within, we need to feel all our emotions. And I want to just say about what could have been. I think what could have been holds us back and holds us in stuckness. Because when we go there, it doesn't create the emotions of hope. It rather creates the emotion of it's not, it's what is the use now? How can I move forward now? And it keeps us in shame and it keeps us in stuckness. So, what we want to do is we want to really lean into the future, lean into the possibility and into the hope. Dean Becker, who's the CEO of Adaptive Learning Systems, says that more than education, more than experience, more than training, a person's level of resilience will determine who succeeds and who fails. That's true in the cancer ward, it's true in the Olympics, and it's true in the boardroom. And I just want to add that it's also true for our sobriety journey. So if you are really struggling with the theme of loss, reach within and then reach without. I loved that little clip this morning on one of our WhatsApp groups, the little picture from Charlie McKeesy about reaching out for help, the horse and the little boy and the mole, and saying, you know, when we don't really know how to move forward, we reach out for help. It's so important. So often when we're on this journey, we don't reach without, we isolate. And when we reach without, we're reaching into connection. We're allowing people to support us. And in turn, we can support back in future. And so that beautiful cycle of giving and receiving is allowed. So it's not just about going it alone. So I hope that kind of has given some themes around this beautiful question, which I could unpack all day. There's so much within that question. And I would really encourage delving more into Brene Brown's work, as well as Byron Katie, and learning to love what is, learning to look through the lens of love always. When we are in judgment, we cannot get into our compassion and our empathy. And above all, we want to have compassion and empathy for ourselves and for others. It starts first with us. And then I've got the second question. Why staying sober so forever? That word, staying sober forever, so daunting. On Sunday, when I fell off the bus, my thoughts were, I don't feel ready to stay sober forever. I do think part of it was an excuse, but maybe you have a better explanation. I love this question because I still relate. When we have the forever word, it's like the internal rebel just comes out and says, forever? You must be kidding me. Who does forever? And so I agree. The forever word is daunting. So I prefer completions. My relationship with alcohol is complete and I move forward. So it doesn't mean that I might not ever go back. And I mean, I love this example because I was talking with a really dear friend about this the other day, and she said, that's quite interesting. You know, it's like when I used to break up with my boyfriends in the past, we always used to have that breakup sex afterwards. Did you ever do that? And I was like, maybe if I think back, because I've been married like for over 20 years now. But I've heard that before, and I think it's the same with our journey with alcohol. So when we say forever or we end the relationship, that maybe we're thinking, maybe just once more. Let me see what I'm missing. I think it has a lot to do with FOMO, and I think it has a lot to do with a sneaky belief that we are missing out and that alcohol has still got something to offer. So work around your beliefs around alcohol. There, there is clearly, for a lot of us, there is still a belief running that alcohol helps us. And in some ways it did help us. So, but when we get really clear about how it helped us and what it gave us versus where we want to go, then the journey becomes much clearer. And talking about completions, I really try and keep myself on track with that because it's so easy to forget um, what it feels like to really step into a new path, whether it's giving up sugar or if it's giving up flour. I gave up coffee last year and I said my relationship with coffee is over, it's a completion, and then I had breakup sex with it. And especially in lockdown, so go figure. Um, and then I just said to myself, actually, I'm not really enjoying this coffee, and maybe this time I can really complete the relationship. So I think it's about that. I think it's about being compassionate. I think it's always about being curious. It's always about observing and practicing. And I think this is the one part where we often lose it. We go on a lot of workshops. We watch a lot of YouTube clips. We read a lot of quit lit books. But where the rubber really hits the road is when we really practice to feel our feelings, practice our journaling, practice to get in touch with how am I thinking, what am I feeling, what are my actions, and most importantly, what is my why? And that will always help us stay on track when we get very clear about our why. And the next question really also ties into the other two. How to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And what I would really like to encourage all of you that are here and who are really grappling with these feelings of discomfort is to go and watch a video by Jeff Foster called Meet My Loneliness in the Now. Meeting My Loneliness in the Now. And it's such a powerful video, and it's also part of another workshop that I'm doing now, which is about neurobiology and how these different brains that we have work. You know, we've got our thinking brain, our IQ, and then we have our EQ, which is our heart brain, and then we have our gut, which is our intuitive brain. We are the whole body. And Jeff Foster says that we heal our uncomfortable emotions by feeling them. We get comfortable with being uncomfortable by feeling our emotions, by meeting our emotions in our body, by dropping in our body. And this is also why I always encourage when you are having a craving, when you are having an urge to drink, don't just distract yourself with a thought of, okay, I'm just going to think differently about it. Maybe I just have to have different thoughts about it. I encourage you to drop into the feeling of the discomfort, of the urge, of the drool, sitting with it, locating it, breathing into it, and then loving it and releasing it. These emotions these uncomfortable emotions of guilt and shame, they are the ones that I say that they come up again and again because they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be embraced. It's like if a child comes knocking at your door and you haven't seen them for a while, you wouldn't say, "Ah, who are you? I haven't seen you for a while. Leave." You would invite the child in and say, "Welcome back." It's the same with these emotions. There's a lot of work around emotions. There's a lot of literature and YouTube clips, but I found this one by Jeff Foster on Meet My Loneliness incredibly empowering, thought-provoking, and understanding the importance of meeting all my feelings, all of them in my body. And that is how we heal them. That's how we sit with them. Phew. So I'm really, really feeling these questions this morning. How does anybody give up when their partner is still drinking? How do you best get around this? So for me, the question is always, and it's also the question was how many people can actually give up when their partners are still drinking. And I think it's 50-50. It's always about what are you making it mean that your partner is still drinking. It's not about your partner. I remember being in Rishikesh and sitting at listening to a sannyasi, a beautiful woman called Sarasvati. And she is a sannyasi, which is a Hindu monk, a nun. And she was answering questions. And one of the people that was there asked her, he doesn't know how his relationship is going to work because his partner is not vegetarian like him. He's a vegetarian and he does it because he honors his religion, his spiritual path, and he just cannot make peace with it that his partner is not on the same path and eats meat. And she said to him, your path is not your partner's path. The only path that you need to embrace fully and with your whole heart is your path. When you become your path and you become what is true for you and you live your values, you don't have to convert your partner. They either see how it is impacting you and they change on their own, or they don't. It's not about changing your partner. It's not about that's going to make it easier for me. No, it's about your why. It's about your path. It's your journey. Embrace it. So ask yourself, why am I doing this? What am I making it mean? Am I maybe having a sneaky thought, a permissive thought? Well, if my partner is still drinking, then what the hell? I'm also going to still drink because it's just so difficult. Or are you sitting with that discomfort of this is my path and I'm on it regardless? I don't know if that is answering the question. Give me feedback. The other one is, when is the best time to start socializing or re-socializing? And I always say immediately. And the reason why is because we get to practice. And part of our growth always comes from practicing. And like I said before, we can have all the knowledge in our head, but when we do not go out and practice and use our tools and see what works for us, it doesn't matter if we fail. And I want to really stress that. Learning to ride a unicycle means you falling off more more than 10,000 times before one day you just got it. Think about when you learned to walk. You fell, you bruised, you got up, but you learned about balance, and eventually one day you just walked. And that's why I say, go out there, practice, use the tools, see what works, use your tribe, ask them, how did you re-socialize? What did you say? What did you do? And practice, and then you will get to understand your balance in social situations, what works for you. And then I've got the final question I'm going to answer today is a very curious one for me, and it really just keeps me again on track in terms of how important it is for us to have a daily practice of self-care. And self-care is part of our resilience. And through self-care, I'm not talking about self-soothing. Self-care is really about our exercise, our nutrition, how much rest we get, and building up our our batteries, our bank account, our bank balance for when a trauma hits or when something big hits in our life, that we are equipped to respond. Otherwise, we will often respond in old ways, even ways that we thought were no longer part of our neural pathways. And because this question comes from somebody who has been 15 years sober with AA and is currently going through a really, really tough time. And what she said is, how do you stop, distract the thinking, the thoughts that have suddenly reared up for me again? Quite scary. I know it's emotionally driven. But flip, I never expected that. And the thoughts are, maybe I should start drinking again, or maybe I would like to have it. Why would I, after all these years, want to, want to have a drink again? So neural pathways don't disappear. I used to believe that all we needed to do is to override the current neural pathway with a better one. So if the superhighway was my reward system is the way that I deal with things is with alcohol, and that is my superhighway, then all I have to do is reprogram that highway and it'll be gone. And what I'm discovering as I'm learning more and more about neural pathways and habits is that a neural pathway, once it's there, is there. It gets fainter and fainter, and the less we use it, the less likely our brain is going to go back to that one. So that's why it's so key to, on a daily basis, practice our self-care habits, practice creating new thoughts, creating new learning. If we drive a certain way home every day from work, change up how we brush our teeth, change up when we're in the shower, how we start washing first, change up our morning routine every now and then, just changing it up and always relearning. Even in my near dance, we are learning a new routine, and it's all about embracing the new, the learning throughout, and never getting too complacent, and building up that bank balance of resilience for when that time comes where we really hit a trauma or something really big and major comes in our life, that we have the resources to help us through it, so that we don't go back and to that neural pathway of let me just numb down. Let me just numb this all down again. How do I best numb this down? Oh, I remember. We used to drink it away, remember? And it just pops up there. And the other, and what I also would like to encourage about thoughts is thoughts are just thoughts. They're lies. They're not real. They just come and go. Imagine if we downloaded all your thoughts on my thoughts. We would be declared mad if we believed them all. So a thought only becomes an issue if we start believing it and we start attaching to it. And in closing, I want to just talk again about mindfulness, being present in the moment, embracing all of our emotions, having a self-care routine every day that we engage in, that we watch ourselves in. And I know when I'm not, often when I'm in a very, very busy part, or I feel overwhelmed, my self-care is the first thing that goes out the window. Oh, I'm too busy this morning. Let me just go straight into working. I'll do my yoga tomorrow. No, I do my yoga today, because for today I do my self-care so that tomorrow I have the resilience, I have the energy for whatever life throws at me. So those are my reflections from this beautiful morning. I don't know how that all landed for you. Let me have a look. Geraldine, would it help to call each other and discuss to distract? That's a very good question. For me, it's not about distraction. You know, when we are really looking at something that is very, very difficult for us, the first step is to really get very clear about what we are facing. Really get real. This is it. And then reach out to your network. Who can I reach out to that can help me with this problem or with this issue? Um, so yes, reach out, but it's not about distraction, because when we distract, it's another way of numbing. Self-care is so hard to do right now. What's wrong with hard? Talking about hard again, it was my question. I battled with hard, and what my coach said to me at the time is, we need to work that muscle. of the choice muscle of I can do hard. And I can do hard is all about resilience, and it's all about the traits of grit and perseverance. We need to build our grit and our perseverance to see something through. And one of the invitations that my coach gave me was to do, to embrace something hard every month, or at least at the beginning of the year. Put yourself on a journey of hard. So, Catherine, you are now on the journey of your hard. Embrace it. Embrace it as I'm learning to grit, I'm learning to persevere, and I'm learning to be flexible and adaptable as well. So if we have those four traits, it becomes far easier. If we embrace the hard emotions, that is where we grow. That is how we evolve as humans. Um, so embrace it. It's a gift. And your self-care, if it's hard, ask yourself, why is it hard to care for me? And reach out. Reach out with some things that you can do. Yeah, don't think too much. Exactly. Often we think and think and think and think, and we just and overthinking can really send us in a spin. When we are in overthinking, when we are just thinking too much and we are all in our thoughts, do a meditation, drop into silence. Can't I can't stress enough how important that is. When we get silent, when we drop into the now, that's the magic. That's the bliss point. And we can do that anytime. That's when we can respond and not just react, when we can really just drop in. We always say workshops are for learning, the theory, and then member community is to help you put it into practice. So true. So my dear tribe for today, just remember, practice, practice. It's all about practice. You've got this. You've all got this. And I'm so, so blessed to be part of this tribe and to be here with you this morning. Next weekend, next Saturday, I get to do more questions and answers. And if there's some questions that have come here that I've missed, I will address them next Saturday. Let me have your questions. Thank you for all your comments. I'm going to read through them as soon as I'm finished with this live and just enjoy them and respond. Have a beautiful day, everybody. And thank you again for being here, for being committed, and for being on this beautiful journey together. Bye.